All right, now that we have finished talking about cells in Chapter 3, we're moving on to Chapter 4, which is tissues. So tissues, basically histology, is the study of tissues. So a tissue is a group of cells working together to perform a common function. Common function. All right, there are 4 main tissue types. And all of our organs are made up of a combination of these 4 different tissue types. So the first type is called epithelial tissue. And epithelial tissue is a tissue that basically covers things and lines spaces. So covers things like organs, and lines spaces. So for example, when we talked about serous membranes, those were membranes that covered the organ. Those were visceral membranes, visceral serous membranes, and lined the cavity. So parietal membranes, those coverings are a type of epithelial tissue. The second type is connective tissue. So connective tissue is a tissue that basically binds things together and provides support. Okay, so connective tissue is the most numerous tissue in the body, and it's kind of like the packing peanuts of the body. Okay, it's the filler. Right, the third type of tissue type is muscle. So muscle tissue. And muscle tissue, of course, provides movement. So this type of tissue has the property of being able to contract. So it is contractile. So this movement, of course, is movement of our limbs. So moves so that you can move around and manipulate the environment and all of that stuff. And it also includes the movement inside your body. So movement of fluids like blood, the food that you eat through your digestive tract. Those types of movements as well. So under epithelial tissue, connective tissue, and muscle tissue, we're going to have subtypes. There's going to be different types of epithelial tissue that we talk about. There's going to be different types and subtypes of connective tissue that we talk about. And then there's different types of muscle. The last one is nervous tissue. And this is a tissue that is sort of its own thing that provides communication and control. So looking at this picture, you've got epithelial tissue here, Okay, so things like the lining of the digestive tract or GI tract organs, and other hollow organs, so lining of blood vessels, lining of your respiratory tubes, all of those things are lined with epithelial tissue. The skin, the skin that you see and that you touch, that part of the skin is called the epidermis, and it is epithelial tissue. Over here we have connective tissue, and connective tissue includes things like fat. Bone is a connective tissue. And then there's connective tissue that holds together, muscles, being, tendons and things like that. So connective tissue is the most prominent, the most numerous tissue in the body. And there's going to be basically the connective tissue, the subtypes of connective tissue, and then the subtypes of those subtypes. So it is a big category there. Muscle tissue, not so bad. There's basically 3 types. Cardiac, which is in the heart. Smooth muscle, which is in the body that moves things through hollow organs. And skeletal muscle, which is the muscle that moves your body, your arms and legs. And then the last type of tissue is nervous tissue. And again, that's going to include the neurons and the supportive cells that are in the brain, the spinal cord, and those neurons that make up nerves. Okay, so the first tissue we're going to talk about is epithelial tissue.